What's going on, y'all? Goofy Rexy here. Hope you guys are doing well. So I'm here with my man Thorn today, joining me for a video. So today we're going to be doing a character review. We just got Venom into the game. Very excited. I know it's been anticipated for a long time. We got Scream, and we got even more excited, and now we have Anti-Venom. So we have a full-on Symbiote team now, and I know people are going crazy. I already got them all the way up to gear tier 14, like my man Thorn over here. So I'll let him talk about that a little bit later on. But listen, kind of quickly, man. I mean, what are kind of like just your initial thoughts here on Anti-Venom? How do you feel about him? Do you think he's kind of lived up to what they said he would live up to? Or is the hype right? That's what we're trying to figure out. Is the hype right?
Man, I think so. I've been running them on 7.5, and I've quite liked them. As far as a kind of full kind of synergy team that we've got at the moment, they're definitely quite raid worthy. Whether or not they can run through everything in 7.5 is undecided yet. I mean, like you and I have both got Anti-Venom only at 3 stars, so there's still going to be some time until we can kind of level him up and properly see how he's going to be. But based on initial thoughts, I quite like them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat too. Like, I think he's a really good character for the symbiotes. Not really much outside of the symbiotes, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think he's a really good character, with the symbiotes. He does give them that additional sustain, that they do need. I do think that you need him to be significantly powered up in order for him to work, but we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. It actually kind of segues right into kind of like our first segment here, where we're going to be talking about what are the strengths. We're going to talk about some weaknesses too. We're going to talk about T4 priorities and some recommended ISOs that I think would work for. I think there are 2 of them that I've noticed that work so far for Anti-Venom, but we'll dive into that right now. All right, guys, so we are right here with Anti-Venom. So as you can see so far, I got mine up to level 67. I got him at about 40k power. He's only three stars. I was only able to pull 4 red stars for him. So I'm going to really be hoping and praying and going hard and yelling at my alliance to make sure that we get these damn shards so we can get him to at least 5. My goal is at least 5 stars, if I possibly can. But let's talk about strengths here, Thorn. So what are your thoughts on kind of like the best strengths for, Anti-Venom?
So for me, his strengths, I think he completes that symbiote team. So previously, before we even had Scream, featured on the team, their biggest weakness was clearing heal blocks, providing, I guess, immunity and stuff like that. And the fact that he can do that allows that team to, heal when prior to that, heal blocks would potentially screw that team over. So I think that and the positive effects that he applies to the team are probably his biggest strengths that he brings to it. Then when we did have Scream, because when we saw, I think we saw data mines of his kit first before Scopely released his kits, and in the data mines it showed that he provides a revive, and everyone was like, wow, why is he providing a revive? Yeah. And then we got Scream, and then we were like, oh,
that's why.
Oh, that's why. That's why that's there. I'm glad they provided that revive. She sure as hell needs it.
Oh, damn. I mean, she's literally always the first one to die. I mean, seriously, she's literally always the first one to go.
Yeah, her health pool is ridiculously low. So it's good they gave him a revive for her.
Yeah, I mean, what I love about him is, definitely his, like I said, being able to clear the heal blocks, definitely being able to revive, because, Scream is so important to that team, because once they start pretty much killing, they're just they're just going and going and going, especially if they continue to keep killing, the other team doesn't really have a chance to go. They maybe get one attack, if you have a Daredevil or something like that on a U7 team or a Mystique, they pretty much basically just get one attack. So it's just so good that, that he is kind of there to provide the sustain, that team needs in order for them to, kind of just keep things rolling and keep things going. But you pointed out something with the basic ability that we talked about a little bit earlier, that kind of just providing some insight on why he is so good for this team.
Yeah, so we mentioned it earlier, but the basic attack for me is a very strong basic attack when you compare it to a lot of other characters. A lot of characters just do damage really and nothing else, and the fact that he applies bleed, he then provides the opposite of the random positive effect. He does the opposite of that, so he flips it essentially, and then he also comes in and heals the lowest kind of health character on your team.
Scream.
Which I haven't seen him tag anyone else but Scream. It's just pretty much it is, Scream. But the fact that he does healing on a basic is really strong. So you've got that on tap. If it comes to his turn and you fire and Scream is looking a bit worse for wear, hit the basic. He'll come in and give her a bit of a heal, and he'll clear the heal block as well, which is mighty good as well. So a lot of the counters prior to Anti-Venom coming out for the Symbiote team was characters that could do heal block because they couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
But he's got two moves that clears heal block. And one of them is on the basic. So you've got that whenever you want.
Yeah, which is why I love his kit. I mean, overall, his kit is really, really strong. Special. I mean, I personally love his ultimate ability. Especially if you do get a T4, being able to then spread all of the positive effects, on himself, after stealing those positive effects or, flipping those positive effects, himself, and then being able to spread that, if you T4 it to and all of the symbiote allies, I've been in some matches where, I'm spreading counter, I'm spreading evade, I'm spreading, all these different things. It's quite, exciting to watch. And like I said, it's only been me spreading two random ones. I can't even imagine when I finally get him to level 70 and I can finally T4 that ability, what he's going to be really doing. I love his kit. His kit is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's a really good character for that team. I do think that there are definitely some weaknesses that I want to, kind of touch on. And of course, we can talk about a little bit some T4s a little bit later on too. All right. So as we said, Anti-Venom, he's good, right? But there are definitely some pretty glaring weaknesses, or maybe they're not as glaring, but some pretty big things that I saw here with Anti-Venom. So I'm currently running in with my symbiotes, and I'll kind of show you what my symbiotes look like right now. They're currently, I mean, I have a decently big, SSM. My Carnage is at gear tier 13. My Venom is not really that big. And of course, Scream is kind of just sad because she doesn't have any stars yet. But we're hoping to be able to get some. We need at least 15 more to get her to 5 stars, and then we should be fine. But one of the things that I realized so far with running with the symbiotes and Anti-Venom running on this team, I'm doing U7.1. And part of the issue is that if he's not built up at least to being close to the power level of a lot of your other symbiotes, then the heals are really only benefiting Scream anyways, right? But in reality, you want him to still be able to benefit the other characters, because there are times where my Venom gets hit a lot. There are times where Carnage gets hit a lot too as well. So if he's not really built up to a similar power level as them, at least like, so for instance, for me, that would be at least getting him a gear tier 13, right? So that his heals, that 5%, that 15% could actually be somewhat worth it to them. Then ultimately, you're probably not really getting a full on benefit of anti-venom on a team. And I'm sure you could probably say that for anyone, but in particularly with the symbiotes, you really want to at least get him to be at least somewhat close enough in power level to actually benefit the rest of the symbiotes, not just Scream.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, that kind of philosophy applies to any kind of character, but to kind of properly gauge how a character is, if you're running him with a team, you got to make sure he's on par with the rest of the team to kind of properly, provide thoughts on him. But even so, I mean, so the only difference between your anti-venom and mine at the moment is mine's at 75 gear 14, but mine's also at 3 stars, 3 red stars as well. So, but I've been impressed by how well he's done given his level, and I can only imagine once he's built up how strong he's going to be.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like I said, I mean, I'm probably saying that based on just where I'm at. I'm running U7.1, and he kind of gets my Venom for the most part doesn't really die ever. Like he's decently tanky for some reason. Yeah. So he's like such an underrated character in general. By the way, like he's really good. Yeah. Well, mainly with the symbiotes, but he's a really good underrated character, but I just found that, my anti-venom not really contributing as much as I want him to. Yes, he's giving me the positive effects and things like that, but he's not really giving me, kind of sort of the best that I could get. He's really only benefiting Scream right now. Scream is literally the only character on this team that's actually really benefiting from him, apart from those positive effects that he ultimately gives, to as well. Another thing that I would point out is, and this is just me being nitpicky, he's great with the symbiotes, but I don't really think that a lot of people I think said that he was going to be a great standalone character. I'm kind of realizing that not really. He's really mainly there just to benefit the symbiotes. A lot of his kit, I'm trying to remember, like it's if that ally is a symbiote ally, clear 1 negative effect, and then from all other symbiote allies. So essentially, like his passive only really benefits symbiotes for the most part.
Yeah, So it's really only his basic and ultimate that can apply to other characters if you play him on a hybrid team.
Yeah.
So with his ultimate, he's not going to give them all the positive effects, but he'll give those. According to the wording, he'll provide 2 positive effects that are on him, like a random 2. And the basic, he will still be able to heal non-symbiotes on his basic as well. So there's potential there for him to be on a hybrid team. Obviously, his best fit is going to be on a full symbiote team. There's just going to be a lot more value for him on that, but there is some sort of usability on a hybrid team, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next thing, it's actually going to segue right into us talking about this. So we're actually just going to segue right into it. Unfortunately, he is extremely T4 heavy. In order for him to work well with the team, he needs a lot of T4s, potentially all of them, in order for him to really work. So we can actually start off. We already talked about the basic. We talked about, a few of the other abilities here, but, I think we already kind of agreed that, that like his basic attack is definitely a ability that you want a T4, just because of the opportunity here to apply the opposite 2 random effects. And then also just because of Scream, the additional 5% healing, she's going to need that. She's absolutely 100% going to need that extra 5% healing. Now, granted, you're going to hope that Anti-Venom is going to have some more stars, some more red stars, for him to, really have, for that 5% to really be, worth it. But definitely, I would say, just being able to get those 2 random positive effects, I think are really good. So I definitely say basic for me is definitely a T4. What are your thoughts?
So I think all of his T4s are pretty good, actually. So there's some that are I would say are essential. In terms of the basic, I think that's a good value upgrade. Yeah. I wouldn't call it an essential upgrade,
right?
But I'd say it's definitely a good value. Like you said, getting that extra 5%, especially on Scream, it can be clutch at certain times. What I also like is instead of one random positive effect, it then becomes two. So especially when you got a lot of characters, with a lot of positive effects, having an additional one is pretty nice. And when you pair that with Venom, who's also got a flip on his basic as well, it's actually a pretty decent upgrade.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll skip the special for now. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. But on the passive ability, I already got this T4'd already, and I'm actually kind of blanking on why I T4'd it. I know it was important, but I'm kind of blanking on the moment. So, with this T4, clears one positive negative effect from the most injured ally that has a negative effect. I think prior to this, if that ally is a symbiote, clear one negative effect from all other symbiote allies. I feel like previously before that, it might have only cleared one or two.
No. So as anything with Foxnax/Scopely, the wording was really ambiguous. So I had to go into the coding to actually check what it actually was going to do when you upgraded it.
Gotcha.
So prior to having a T4'd, it said something along the lines of clear one negative effect. As it says there, if that ally is a symbiote, clear one negative effect from two symbiote allies. Gotcha. Now the upgrade text was a bit unclear because it said it had that same paragraph in the upgrade text, and then it said instead of two, it had all. So some people weren't, too clear whether he's going to do an additional negative effect based on the fact that the upgrade text had that in it. Right. But all it does is it goes from two symbiotes to all.
Awesome.
So prior it cleared one negative effect. Afterwards, it still clears one negative effect, but it does it on all the symbiotes. And for that reason, I think it's a pretty damn good upgrade. I'd say it's probably one of his essential upgrades, just for the fact that, instead of randomly choosing any two symbiotes, it's just going to do it on all of them.
Absolutely.
So that's a good upgrade.
Absolutely. I think this next one here, the ultimate, is the absolute number one essential T4 on him. Prior to gain the opposite of all negative effects, excluding bleed on the primary target, attack primary target for 250% damage. We don't really care about the damage much because he's not really a damage dealer anyways. And then of course 100% drain. Cool. He's already getting that if he's doing it in raids. But if you choose to use him outside of that, war, wherever he's gonna get 100% drain, gain regeneration. But then biggest thing is spreading 2 random positive effects to all allies. But when you T4 it, you're spreading all positive effects on self to all symbiote allies, which I think is the reason why it's such a big one. Because you're, like we said, all the positive effects that he could spread that he's gaining, this is a heavy debuff team. The only thing though is that it excludes bleeds, but they also do other things like defense downs, the slows, there's a lot of other things that they do too that, you could get positive effects from, the evades, the counters, like all these different things that they could really kind of like pile up. The evade and the counter are my most fun ones that I enjoy, but I think this right here is his absolute most essential T4, in this case.
100% agree. This is the first one I did on my guy, and it definitely is his best upgrade. And like you said, the reason is it goes from spreading 2 random effects from self into all positive effects to his symbiote allies. And the number of negative effects you can get on an opponent with this team is ridiculous. And so you don't want him to choose just 2. You want him to choose all those positive, negative effects to flip. Yeah. And like you said, you can get some really good, positive effects out of it. My initial instinct was, oh, why didn't they include bleeds? But to be honest, if they did, it would be quite broken, because that team does so much bleeds. If he flipped all of those into regens, it would be so broken. So I can see why they excluded it. But one combination I do like is Venom. So Venom on his ultimate provides heal block on the opposite team.
Yeah.
Now, I think he's the only one on that team that can do the heal block. So if you time it right and flip a character that has heal block, you've got death proof on your team. And death proof on Scream. Oh.
Beautiful. Yes, she's alive.
So that's one good pairing that I like. I like the Venom heal block, him coming in, flipping that into death proof. It's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it too. Now this last one is literally just the Scream protection. I think so. If you want to keep Scream safe, I think this is. I would say realistically, in terms of like priority, I think you could go passive first. Go with the ultimate next, just because you're gonna get to the passive before you get to the ultimate because of the levels. But I would say passive first, ultimate, then basic. But then if you have a low, or maybe you want to go before you go to basic, maybe you want to go with the special. If you have a low invested into or low star Scream, you're probably going to want to go with this one, because reviving that 30% base health is really nothing to Scream because she's already so low anyways. So being able to get that extra 30% base health, I think is really big. Plus, of course, that the 5% additional healing there. I think it's such a crucial part of just that team survivability. And you need Scream to survive, because she's the one that gives you all those. You're getting the 30% already from Carnage, but then now you're getting the additional speed up from Scream on kills. So I just think that this is such an important, T4 if you have a low Scream, or even if you're doing like U7-3 or U7-4, U7-5, it's probably still going to be important anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the passive and the ultimate being essential. I think hands down the best two upgrades. Now, when it comes to whether choosing between what you do next, whether it be the basic or the special, I think it's going to come down to your individual teams. If you're finding that when he revives Scream, it's a bit too low and she pretty much ends up dying straight away afterwards, then potentially this upgrade should come next before the basic. But if you're finding the 30% is enough and the team, due to applying negative effects and killing people and getting those heals that Carnage gives out, that you're able to get her back up to 100% pretty damn quickly, then you could probably hold off on this and do the basic next. So I think choosing between the basic and the special is going to come down to your individual needs, which you do first.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely agreed. So last thing that we could talk about here, ISO weights are here, so I guess we might as well talk about them, since they're a thing. Now, me personally, I went ahead with Healer. I think that, a lot of people said Striker was probably the better a good option to go with. I went away from Striker for many different reasons. I already have Scream and I have Venom as my Striker. And I feel like the additional healing again that he can provide to Scream was more important than the Striker ability. So that's the direction that I went in. I do see how Striker could, help, obviously, again, with applying bleed. I don't know about I don't know if the ISO allows him to heal again, though. No. That was the only thing I had a question on.
Yeah, so I've got him as a Striker, and I've tested that out. Yeah. So the benefit of having him as a Striker is he's going to come in and apply the bleeds. So he's not going to do the healing on your ally character. So he doesn't get that from his ISO assist or whatever people are calling it. But still, the fact that you're getting an additional bleed is still a very good reason to go with Striker. But the good thing about ISOs is there's a lot of theory crafting. There's a lot of mixing and matching that you can do, and I don't think there's going to be any wrong answer. I had him as a healer as well, and if you're finding you need the heals, then that's a solid choice, because he does have a pretty reasonable health pool, even at 3 stars. So healer's a good choice. I've seen some people go with Raider for him because he's got that AoE that he does on one of his attacks. You could also probably even justification for Skirmisher even. And some people even choose Fortifier because he's the reviver. So if he can stay alive, he's going to revive Scream. So I've seen justifications for pretty much all the classes on him, and there's probably going to be 1 or 2 classes that suit him better. Could be Striker, could be Healer, but I don't think you go overly wrong with any of the choices, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the 2 best ones are probably going to be Striker and Healer, depending on how your team is working and what star levels you have on your characters. I think those are going to be the best, the best 2 options, that you potentially have there. But listen, I mean, this is kind of a quick rundown, or as quick as we possibly could make it, of Anti-Venom. I appreciate you being with me here, Thorn. If you don't mind just telling people where they can find you on Twitch and, of course, on YouTube.
Yeah, so I stream on Twitch, Marvel Strike Force, most days. So you can find me on twitch.tv/Thorn_7. I am also on YouTube. I'm going to start doing more content on YouTube as well. I don't have a vanity link for YouTube, but if you search Thorn7 Gaming, you should be able to find me on YouTube as well.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that I link it down in the description too as well, both of your channels, so that they can go find you there too. But thank you so much, Thorn. I appreciate you being here with me, brother. Thank you guys so much as well for watching. I appreciate it. And of course, if you guys have any questions about anything, always feel free to leave it in the comments. Also, you can catch either one of us, live on Twitch. You will leave the links down below as well. And Discord servers. Actually, I'll leave your Discord server down too below as well. But appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Thorn. Have a good one. Be blessed.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Be blessed and be safe.